John had always loved exploring the woods near his house. He felt at home among the tall trees and the sounds of rustling leaves. But one day, while he was out on a hike, something strange happened. He had been walking for hours when he heard a strange noise. At first, he thought it was just an animal, but as he got closer, he realized it was something else entirely. It was a low, guttural growl, like nothing he had ever heard before.
John stopped in his tracks, his heart racing. He looked around, but he couldn't see anything. The growling continued, and it sounded like it was getting closer. John's palms began to sweat, and he felt a chill run down his spine.
As he turned to run, he tripped over a root and fell to the ground. He scrambled to his feet and ran as fast as he could, trying to put as much distance between himself and the growling as possible. When he finally stopped to catch his breath, he realized he was lost. He had no idea which way he had come from, and he couldn't see any familiar landmarks. Panic set in, and he felt like he was going to be sick. Suddenly, he heard the growling again, and it sounded like it was right behind him. He spun around, but there was nothing there. He couldn't see anything, but he could feel eyes on him, watching him from the shadow. John started to run again, but his legs felt heavy, like he was running through thick mud. He stumbled and fell again, and this time he didn't get up. He lay there, gasping for air, his heart pounding in his chest, and then everything went black. When John woke up, he was lying on the ground in the forest, surrounded by trees. He didn't remember how he had gotten there or what had happened. Had it all been a dream? He rubbed his eyes, trying to clear his head. As he stood up, he noticed something strange. There were scratch marks on his arms and legs, as if he had been attacked by an animal. But there was no blood, no wounds. It was like the scratches were there, but they weren't. John shook his head, trying to make sense of what had happened. He didn't know how long he had been unconscious, but it was getting dark. He knew he had to find his way back home before it was too late. He started walking, trying to retrace his steps, but everything looked different. The trees seemed to loom over him, and the shadows were deep and dark. John felt like he was being watched again, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was following him. As he walked, he heard a strange noise. It sounded like whispers, like voices coming from the trees themselves. He stopped and listened, trying to make out what they were saying, but they were too soft to understand. And then the growling started again. It was louder this time, and it sounded like it was coming from all around him. John started to run, but his feet wouldn't move fast enough. He felt like he was wading through molasses, like something was holding him back. As he stumbled through the forest, he caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of his eye. It was a dark figure moving through the trees. He couldn't make out any details, but he could tell it was big and menacing. John's heart raced, and he felt like he was going to pass out. He kept running, even though he didn't know where he was going. He didn't care anymore. All he wanted was to get away from the growling and the whispers.